Welcome to another bonus edition of Upon Further Review.
Upon further review,
And in this edition, we'll be talking about the Philadelphia Eagles at the San Francisco 49ers. And this Week 4 matchup will be September 28th at 4:30 p.m. Eastern Time, and you can catch that on your local Fox affiliates. So the Eagles are one of three teams that are 3-0, and they're going to be facing the Niners that are 1-2, and that's in San Francisco at Levi Stadium, where the Niners have yet to win. They lost their home opener in a disappointing loss to Chicago. That was in Week 2 after having won in Week 1 in Dallas, and then in Week 3 they went to Arizona and lost to the Cardinals. So not the way the Niners wanted to start off this season. The Niners are a team that has been to the NFC Conference Championship game 3 years in a row, and they wanted to make it back there for a fourth year. Of course, the Eagles are 3-0, and they're coming off their NFC East division title from last year. And they're off to a good start here in 2014. This Chip Kelly's offense has been firing all cylinders, especially the passing attack. They beat Jacksonville pretty handily in Week 1. Then on Monday night, they won an exciting game in Indianapolis as they beat the Colts by a field goal in Week 2. And then in Week 3, they beat the Washington Redskins in a rivalry game as they beat them by just 3 points as they narrowly lost that one, but they pulled it out. Nick Foles at 325 yards. As he's been having an amazing season. He's thrown for over 300 yards in every game so far. He's got 978 passing yards on the season to go with 6 touchdowns. So he's really been shining. Of course, McCoy has not gotten off to a great start. He's been struggling a little bit on the ground. Darren Sproles, though, has been kind of picking up the slack on the ground and through the air. Sproles is 117 yards on the ground and 196 yards receiving. So Sproles is number 2 in rushing and number 2 in receiving on the team. So Darren Sproles has been a very huge addition to the Eagles this year, as he is a large part of the reason why they're 3-0 and they're undefeated at this point. Of course, Nick Foles too. Can't forget about that. Jeremy Maclin's having a really good year too. He has 296 receiving yards already. So the Niners are struggling. Colin Kaepernick hasn't really been putting up the numbers. He's got 4 touchdowns, 3 interceptions so far. Of course, the Niners have been passing the ball a little bit more this year. They need to get back to that running game that was their strength before. If you look inside the numbers, when it comes to running the ball, both these teams have been struggling. When last year they were 2 of the top teams in running, but this year the Niners are 18th in rushing yards and the Eagles are 19th in rushing yards. So they had the rushing champion LaShawn McCoy last year, and now they're 19th in rushing. And the Niners were up there in the top 5 for rushing last year. Now they're all the way down 18th. So that's some problems in Philly and San Francisco on the ground, as their ground game has been grounded. It's been brought to a halt. Of course, when it comes to the passing attack, though, the Eagles are a high-flying, high-powered, high-octane team. They're number 2 in the NFL in passing yards per game this season, as they've got one of the best passing attacks in football. For San Francisco, they've been struggling through the air. They're 18th in the league in passing yards. So the advantage there in the passing game, you gotta give it to Philadelphia. Then we look at defense, though. The Niners, despite their injuries, are 6th in the NFL in rushing yards allowed. So they've been shutting down the run. The Eagles are about middle of the road. They're 14th in the league against the run, so they're not so hot against the run. That's going to be a key for San Francisco in this game, is they've got to pick up yards on the ground, eat up the game clock, keep the ball out of the hands of Nick Foles, keep the ball out of the hands of Nick Sproles. And the way they do that is they got to run, and they got to stop the Eagles from running with that run defense they got, and then they got to keep the ball in the hands of their guys. Of course, you look at the pass defense. The Niners are 13th in the league in pass defense in yards allowed, which is not so great, but not bad either. So it's okay. It's decent. Whereas the Eagles, they are 30th in the league in passing yards allowed, so they struggle. Their secondary almost doesn't exist. So when you look at that, I would expect Colin Kaepernick to have a really big day. And I know that the Eagles are undefeated, but I fully believe that the San Francisco 49ers can hand them their first loss of the season. I think the Niners even up their record to 500 in this game, and they win their first game in Levi Stadium in the regular season. Although the Eagles do have a very impressive passing attack, I still think that the Niners defense, even being banged up, is just going to be too much for the Eagles. I do not think that the Niners are going to lose 2 games at home at Levi Stadium to open up 2014. I do not see that happening. So I think they're going to be able to exploit the weaknesses of the Eagles defense. I think that the Niners are going to be able to control the game clock. The key is going to be protecting the ball. Colin Kaepernick has to protect the ball. He cannot make mistakes. But if he can do that, then the Niners should win this game. Frank Gore's got to have a big game on the ground. I expect Crabtree and Bolden to both have big games. They've got to pick up some yards there through the air, and they should not have a problem doing that against this defense that has been letting up big numbers through the air. As we saw, they let up huge numbers to Washington last week. They let up big numbers to Andrew Luck the week before. Even at the beginning in week 1, in the first half, they let up 17 unanswered points to the Jacksonville as Henne and Hearns were exploiting that secondary. They did shut Jacksonville down in the second half, but then we saw again in week 2 troubles in the secondary. Andrew Luck exploited it. Kirk Cousins then exploited it. So now the Niners got to follow that recipe for success the other teams have laid out, even though they haven't been able to beat the Eagles. But that in large part is due to those teams having a lack of a running game. Of course, the Niners have been struggling to run the ball this year, and that's in the trenches. They got to get better blocking up front. They got to protect Kaepernick, and they got to open up them holes. But the Niners at the talent positions have the players to do it, and I think that they can win this game. Let me know what you think in the comments below. I'm very interested to hear your opinions. I hope you enjoyed the show. If you did enjoy the show, hit the like button. Make sure to subscribe as we bring you upon further reviews for each and every single game, each and every single week leading up to game time. We also have recaps for every single game in the NFL each and every single week, and we also bring you a weekly show, The Wedge, where we do quick picks, fantasy picks, weekly rewind, and the upon further review for the Thursday night game, and we usually have that up no later than Wednesday, so keep an eye out for that as well. Thank you very much. We greatly appreciate you listening. It means a lot to us, and we hope that you have a great weekend and enjoy all the football in week 4.